Still on matters of cybercrimes and cybersecurity, one unfortunate click and you could find yourself exposed to the notorious, almost impossible to detect criminals waiting to cause you harm. Now, again, like I said earlier, the $1 million question remains, how can we stay safe? Today, we turn to an expert in the area of cybercrime investigation and capabilities development, Mr. Craig Jones, who is the Director, Cybercrimes Directorate at Interpol. Director, welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much, Isabella and Sam. It's great to be here, and it's great to be in Kigali in Rwanda.
Are you loving the country so far?
So far, it's my first visit, and so far, really, really excellent hosts, and everything is going very, very smoothly for us. Thank you.
Right. Now, just to kick us off and for perspective, let's start with you helping us understand, first of all, because there might be people wondering, what is cybercrime? And what are these people? Who are these people? Where do they come from that threaten our very well-being? Could you just shed more light on that?
Of course. When we look at crime, we look at the traditional crime types, the physical crimes that take place. When someone breaks into a house or someone breaks into a bank or a commercial premises, cybercrime is exactly the same, but it's just in that online space. So the criminals are able to break into computers, to networks. If there are vulnerabilities on those computers and networks, they go after individuals, they go after companies, and the main motivation behind cybercrime is the financial gain for the criminals.
Mm-hmm. So I guess what you're telling me is it's the money mostly that they're looking after, they're looking for.
Absolutely. The cyber criminals, they're in it for the money.
Okay. Now, the red thread throughout the opening ceremony speeches at the 9th Africa Working Group on Cybercrime for heads of units was the need to collaborate, and the need for countries to come together. But in your opinion, why is international cooperation in terms of combating cybercrime, specifically here in the African region, important?
So when law enforcement look to combat any type of crime, they have to come together. They have to work directly in those communities. When a crime is committed locally, the police respond locally. Cybercrime is different. The crimes take place from different countries using infrastructure, using tools and techniques to commit those crimes. The criminals won't even be in the countries in the majority of the times when they're committing those crimes. So that's why we have meetings such as this initially, and this is the 9th meeting now, where we bring together the heads of those units to discuss these matters, look at the current trends, but understand the threats. And we've done that recently in our cybercrime threat assessment for Africa, where we identify the threats, then we come up with strategies and training to support the countries in combating cybercrime.
Mr. Craig, well said with the importance of African countries coming together, but what are the tools you are leveraging to strengthen operational capacity among member countries?
So it's like any model. We look at people, process and technology. We look at the people. So who are the people that we can work with in law enforcement, but also in the private sector, because a lot of the information that the police need are in the private sector. We then need that technology. So we need to have the ability to connect globally law enforcement to share information and data and cooperate. And those are the sort of things that we need to place in now, and that's what we're building at Interpol. And we have a number of trainings this week and next week in Kigali to support officers and staff in combating and preventing cybercrime.
All right, we would just say that no country is an island mostly when it comes to investigation, but we can ask, what are you really doing to create a trust among member countries so that they can freely share information?
So this is where we need some honest conversations. We need to have those honest conversations between law enforcement to ensure that we understand the needs. What are the vulnerabilities that we have in law enforcement? And then what are the tools that we need to build and bring law enforcement together in order to prevent cybercrime, detect cybercrime, investigate cybercrime, and disrupt cybercrime. And it's the criminals that we intend to go after. So the criminals that are online, the police now are having the tools, we're coming together, and we are going to come after those criminals.
Director, one of the things that I had, going on even in the story that we just shared earlier is the call on countries to work together, not only just sharing information, but building trust and being able to do the things that investigating, and not just investigating, but preventing before it happens, detecting beforehand can be done. Let's talk about how you're able to do that, because some countries might be willing to work together, might have that trust already established. There are some countries that might be a little bit on the edge. How do you deal with such situations to be able to really work together in ensuring the outcome that you want?
So what we first of all have to do is to ensure that countries have national cybercrime strategies. They have to understand how they're going to prioritise their resources. Then we need to bring the countries together. Interpol is a neutral organisation with 195 member countries. We have that ability to connect the countries together using the tools and platforms which are secure. That allows us to exchange data and information, but it also allows us to bring law enforcement together with private partners. We can make those connections. We identify the criminals, we go after them, and we arrest them in the communities where they're committing the crimes.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you talk about communities. I've heard you speak about the trickle-down effect from global to local when it comes to impact. Could you expound a little bit on that?
So the global threat pictures that we see have different regional and national perspectives as well. So the ability for Interpol to be able to carry out those regional threat assessments that I've said, and then share that out into the regions. That then combined with the national strategy of the regions helps law enforcement, but more importantly, the governments and the communities to come up with plans, to come up with those sorts of objectives. What are they looking to achieve? Certainly in the cybercrime area, one of the main areas we have to improve on is prevention. We to look at the basic prevention steps that need to be taken by companies in protecting their data and their infrastructure, raising awareness in the communities about the threats that they possibly face and what steps they can make to make themselves safer.
All right. Now, in the interest of time, unfortunately, we have to leave the conversation here, but within just 2 seconds, as we wrap up, what has been the biggest lesson that you have derived from this meeting as African countries come together and Friends of Africa to talk about how to put an end to cyber crimes?
So what we're seeing here is a real willingness of the countries to come together. We have over 43 countries at this meeting. This is the biggest single meeting that I've had for cybercrime globally in the 3 years that I've been director. We also look at the training that is going on here with over 22 countries involved in that training, which will then lead into a surge activity in the next couple of weeks, where the countries will be working together, doing prevention, detection, investigation, and disruption of those cyber criminals.
All right, Mr. Craig Jones, the Director of Cybercrime Directorate at the Interpol, thank you very much for your time tonight on Rwanda Television News.
Thank you very much indeed.